We are thrilled and excited that you're joining us today to take a look at what we've got coming up with Selling with the Bulls Intercollegiate Competition, which is just a few weeks away. So remember February 15th and 16th, and that the pre-work, the prospecting messages, the email, the voicemail, and LinkedIn messages are due on that weekend beforehand. We'll be working on the schedule, so if there are any changes or anything, please let me know ASAP, because I'll be actually locking that down this weekend, I hope, at least on a general level. It's really the quantity of people more than it is the actual names right now that's critical for us to work through. But I think I've just about got everybody locked in for that. So thanks for everybody's feedback and diligence in sharing that. Today, we're thrilled to have a really dynamic speaker and really informative view of what's happening with FinTitan. So John Souza is going to be joining us today. John is one of the founders of FinTitan, so nobody better to talk about the mission, the industry, and the value and opportunity that's out here. So with that, I'm going to get out of the way. We've got 30 minutes or so of presentation that then we'll follow up with whatever Q&A or questions everybody may have. And those questions could come about the case, it could come about the industry, it could come about FinTitan specifically, or it could come about the competition and the logistics associated with that. I'm here to answer those, and as always before, we'll get the recordings of this, we'll get the slides as well, and those will all be posted up into the competition folder in that same location where everything is going for the competition. So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and be quiet here, and I'll let John take it from here.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Robert. Glad to be here. I'll go ahead and set a timer for myself. So I'm not known to be succinct, so you're going to put me on a tight timeline here and put me under stress. It's an interesting time for FinTitan. I mean, we have a lot of things going forward. The economy overall in the U.S. is, it's uncertain for the business environment, for the SMB environment in the future. But I think that the prospects that we have are really very different than the marketplace as a whole. Us as a company, and we really look at things. And my background is entrepreneur. I started off as an investment banker. I went to NYU and studied finance, and from there, my dream was always to go to Wall Street. And I started off my career at Citibank, and then went from Citibank to JP Morgan Chase to a Swedish investment bank, and then I wrapped up my career in investment banking at Bank of America Capital Management Group, actually here in Tampa, and running the entire Southeast. But what I noticed during that time, and the reason that really one of my main reasons for creating FinTitan is having banking going back to old school and really relationship based, because us as a company, we're extremely impact driven, looking at how we can help the people that we serve. And I think that there's been an evolution, not necessarily for the better, in how companies run themselves. In the last 20 years, I was very lucky to have worked with Richard Branson for 3 years, finding the best companies in the world for the Extreme Tech Challenge. So I have a lot of experience with entrepreneurs in all different types of disciplines. In us as a portfolio company, we have an education arm, a healthcare arm, and also FinTitan, which is the main financial services and solutions arm. And when you go ahead and you look at really where we're going, and what the three main points I really want to talk about today is FinTitan overall, the industry opportunity, and what really avails us to have where we think it's a massive opportunity, where other people are making cuts, where we think there's a lot of growth, and also the FinTitan difference. These are the three main areas, but I think it's important to say is that there's some things I won't be disclosing during this call because of just sensitivity purposes, but also to start the call, just so everybody understands, is that we grew from 0 to 100 employees in sub 2 years. We grew to $100 million in revenue from 0 revenue in sub 2 years. There's not a lot of companies that do that. We've done that because of seizing opportunities, educating that, making sure that we have the right people at the right time in the right place, and being unilaterally focused on one thing, and that's helping entrepreneurs succeed. So when you look at things and you kind of listen to me talk, or you hear anything from the company, we're 100% mission-centered and mission-aligned to entrepreneurs. We look at things as, how do we help entrepreneurs? We don't look at prospects or clients of ours as money centers and profit centers. We look at them as a relationship base and their value. And I think that the world has evolved in many ways that don't look at that in a positive light anymore. They look at things of how many deals or how many sales did you do today? And we have a much longer time horizon. I think it really comes across from every contact our clients or prospects have with us. And we've been very grateful for the growth that we've had. But at the same point, there's have been some strains. When you go to 0 to 100 employees, It's not all the easy road, but that, we're very grateful for being there. And really what we're looking to do and our goal overall is to be the entrepreneur's partner for success. And we help them build, grow, and scale. And when you look at things overall in the entrepreneurial landscape, and entrepreneurs run the country that we're in. I mean, you'll see some statistics later that a large amount of companies in the SMB market are small companies. They're not the Googles, the Facebooks, the IBMs, the Intels, and the Nvidias that are always in the news. The ones that are not in the news, really employ the predominant amount of Americans, and that leads to economic prosperity. And that's who we want to backbone, because that is truly that backbone of America. So when you look at SwtB.com, we're having some echo. Okay, who's my hot? Good. So when you go ahead and you look at entrepreneurs run the country, and again, this all started through the tax credit program. That was a program by the government to create tax credits during the time of COVID. But as the evolution goes on, ERTC becomes entrepreneurs run the country, because they truly do. When you look at financial services and banking, and because I consider us a financial services solutions company, because we're touching people's money, we know who their employees are, we have the social security numbers, we know the payroll data. But when you go back to who we serve, and I think this goes back to the differentiation of us and a company, is that the average entrepreneur and business owner is their late 40s, 50 years old. I mean, that's just the facts. And because of such, they've grown up in a time that relationships are first. But now when you look at the changing of the guard, and you look at the industry opportunity that we have, I believe that there's truly an unmet opportunity, and the unmet opportunity provides a massive opportunity for us as a company. Because you say that there's a lot of banks, there's a lot of payment processors, a lot of companies, but when you look at this, is who is truly customer service aligned? If you go to the bank right now, and I dare to say anybody watching this right now, live or even on a recording, think about the last time you went to a bank. Were they helpful to you? Did the person need approval to open the account? Were they able to properly service you? And did you consider that person? Did you take their card? Would you call that person back, or was their job, do you feel, was it Walmartized, where the job was so narrowed and focused that they're a widget that can be replaced? So you have a situation now in the workforce overall, is that you have this narrowing and focusing of jobs. So you make your employees very, very replaceable, so they don't go ahead and mess up the wheel. And that's kind of the situation we're in overall in America. And then when companies go ahead and when you run into harder economic times, they look at, how do you make cuts? Well, it's fairly easy to make cuts when you're looking at the HR capital side, because they're not investing in HR. They're not developing people in the way they can, because you look at the market opportunity, 50% of employment is in SMBs. You look at if the SMB market's responsible for $300 billion in financial services, it's very, very important. But everybody goes ahead, and when you look at it, they look at the larger clients. They don't look at the smaller clients. But I can tell you, you go back to the stories of the evolution of Apple, Google. You look at any companies that are up and coming, that, or if anybody looks like Crunchbase, the up and coming companies, they all started small. They all started 1, 2, 3 employees. In Tampa, we walked into a 20,000 square foot space with 11 employees. With hopes and dreams. And the reality is, a lot of these hopes and dreams for companies like us do not turn into gold. We're extremely grateful and extremely fortunate that some of the things that we did and we planned on worked out really, really well. But for the majority of entrepreneurs out there in companies, it doesn't work out that way. They need help. They need help building. They need help scaling. They need help all along the way, and there's iterative points in the mission. And when you look at the challenge SMBs run into is that the overall market is very fragmented, and there's a reason for that, because the narrower your focus, the more that you can kind of hone in on what you do and how you service clients. But we look at this kind of like that little house in the middle on the graphic here. We look at how do we become the relationship manager in the middle? How do we have product lines that are the solution specialists there, much like an IT company, a relationship manager with solution specialists. And that's really, I think, the differentiating point, is that you have, to me, again, old school is the best school. When you look at the perception overall, is that big banks are servicing SMBs. I worked for Citibank, I work for JP Morgan Chase. I work in Bank of America. I can tell you unequivocally, big banks have a much less appetite for an SMB market than you believe that there is. It's not a profit center. It is what is a profit center is the larger companies that are what they consider mid-market. Mid-market is where the profitability is. When you look at the servicing, I dare to say that 90% plus of entrepreneurs or businesses that are in the SMB market probably have a bank account that pays them 0% interest. Why? Because I can tell you that the guidelines for one of the larger banks that we do business with, for you to receive interest or a yield and be eligible for treasury money markets is $20 million. That's not a lot of SMBs hit the $20 million mark. So what they do in my mind as a ex-investment banker is that this is a profit center from the standpoint is because you're a small business, I don't need to give you certain things. I don't need to give you interest on your money, but all that money adds up. And what I look at is that how do we as FinTitan wrap our arms around the entrepreneur and provide them with a service that they're not going to get anywhere else because it just simply doesn't exist. So I think when you look at the perception versus reality, the big banks don't properly service these accounts because they don't make their best products available to the SMB market because they look at them as a profit center because they just don't have to pay any yield or any interest on deposits. And that's not the way to kind of look at things. And the way to look at things is more or less when, the opportunity is that just because you can get away with not paying someone interest doesn't mean you should. And I think that that's kind of the moral of the story for us is that just because we can make more money off of our product or service because someone is naive about what the marketplace is, doesn't mean we should. Just because we can lend somebody money at 20, 30, 40% rates doesn't mean we should. And we want to be the opposite of what's out there. And we purposely built in stealth mode because we're not a big bank. We're not a big financial services company, but again, I guess we're getting there because we've done $100 million in revenue in a very, very short time frame. But I think the reason that we've done that is one clear reason is that we've established such immense trust in our clients. And when you look at a situation of what we've done over the last 2 years plus, and I won't get into specifics here, but we've amassed thousands upon thousands of clients that know that we believe that entrepreneurs run the country, know that we are a trusted partner for the future, know that we are ones that whatever their issue is in their business, we are going to give them a recommendation or someplace to go, irrespective of whether we make money off of them. We have all their business data. We know who they are. We know who their employees are. We have access to their IRS filings because we've done their tax returns. We have all their payroll data. So it looks at the iteration of FinTitan from the existence of employee retention tax credits and kind of that evolution in marketing is what do we do now? Who do we become now? Because for us, we've always known what we're going to become. We know that providing good customer service experience, providing and 100% aligning to entrepreneurs, well, magically by having all their customer data, building in and having a respect-based relationship and being a trusted advisor, well, we have all the payroll data. It's very easy to offer payroll. We have all their receipts. We know where the receipts are coming from, revenue receipts. So merchant processing, depository, we know where they bank. We know who's their accountant, CPA, if there's a bookkeeper. So there's really, really easy ways for us to go ahead and go into these marketplaces. So what we looked at a government program that we're able to establish thousands upon thousands of clients, make them happy, and then offer them a business analysis. So what we look at is going back to the circle in front of it, is that how do we stay in the middle? And then relationship managers, and how do we empower our employees to have a conversation that is not widgetized, that's not Walmartized? How do we go ahead and invest in our human capital in such a manner that we grow our employees? I mean, I was very, very benefited early in my career. I mean, I was a junior at NYU in New York City. My first job was at 399 Park Avenue. It was a hand-picked staff. That was a flagship for Citibank. And I went into the management training program, then the executive training programs. But the reality is companies don't do that anymore because they don't invest in their people. And where we look at, we want really, really good in relationship managers and really, really good solution specialists that have our clients and really their clients, and the way that we want them to look at it is their clients' best interest at hand, because there's never going to be a situation with us is that we want to sell something more. We've heard some of the big banks, they got in trouble for establishing fake accounts and not paying fees or really systematically cutting corners. And it doesn't have to be, but when you look at a situation in the environment as a whole and you don't have a trust-based relationship, you're really in a situation that, how do you make more money? And it may lead certain people to go off the path. But I think when you look at us I think the reason that we don't go anywhere off the path, and everybody here has 100% clarity at FinTitan, and the birthing of really what is a birthing of a giant is we're mission aligned. We are 100% clear with who we serve and why we serve them. You will never hear anybody in our organization ever say, we sell this because we make this. Conversation does not exist in our own company. We do not have revenue goals. We're the honest, funny, I speak to my friends that have grown these unicorns and I'm like, we don't have, like, what are your revenue goals? I'm like, we don't have them. Like, what do you mean you don't have revenue? I'm like, we don't have revenue goals. We service clients, we do well. It's worked out so far. We're not going to break it. Hopefully, there doesn't have to be some cataclysmic effect in the economy that changes it. But I think that if we put this in the center, it goes back to that entrepreneurs run the country. If we really believe this, and our staff from start to finish, and we believe this as leadership, the growth mindset is there because we're trying to help every business that we help build, grow, scale. Now, some may shut down, some may sell. How do we become trusted partners at every way, shape, and form? There may be a service, maybe insurance that we don't have an insurance offering, but you know what? There's companies that do that really, really well. How do we become aligned with those companies and not do it from a standpoint of what's in it for us? How do we get a referral? I think it's a different mindset because too many companies have been SaaSified. What they do in the SaaSification of all these companies, and you look at how many recurring subscriptions do you have on a monthly basis? It's SaaSification. How many fees do you pay for some service on a monthly basis? Well, what do those companies do? They get sold, you get sold by a salesperson, a service that then you never speak to ever again. And that may be good for some services. It's not good for banking and finance and entrepreneurial growth. It doesn't serve entrepreneurs well. How do I understand more about you? How do I deepen the relationship? How do I sit here and have a 45-minute business analysis conversation with you about what your goals are? Are you buying new trucks? Are you planning to grow? Do you want to sell your company? Are you running into obstacles that we can potentially help? I think that becomes, we ingrain our trust down because, naturally, you're going to see the natural progression in what we have to different products and services. And, we're not going to be in a situation that we're forced to sell more. But I think so far it's really, really resonated with the entrepreneurs that we serve. We're unbelievably grateful for the growth that we had. It's not without hiccups. I mean, I dare anybody to grow as fast as we have without having all kinds of warts and arrows and, nicks and cuts along the way, but it's been a fun ride so far. So I really look at changing the landscape of financial services and solutions in a way to the better. How do we become not widgetized, and how do we become the center pole in the relationship? And how do we go ahead and be in a situation that we're the entrepreneur's partner for life? And what my dream is from the beginning of creating this is the fact that, if you call up a client of ours, they say, I'm with FinTitan, I'm good. And that's really what I want to leave you at. That's really what we want to talk about on a relationship basis. I'm with FinTitan, I'm good. And then someone gets off the phone like, oh my God, they're with FinTitan. There's no chance they're ever going to leave because they know that we give the best products, the best services on a fair way for entrepreneurs. And we're never taking advantage of anybody in any way that we could have, but we chose not to because it's just not the right thing to do. And I think there's more companies that need to follow that mantra than anything else and lead with the entrepreneur first, because I think there's been too much SaaSification in the ecosystem. We're very grateful for where they are. And what we're always looking to do is really having more and more teammates come on board that understand, putting the client first. They're not always right, the reality, but they need to be shown, different products and services. The companies evolve. It's really, really intricate in what we value internally on the human capital side is people that ask questions. We're not hiring robots. We don't need robots. We don't need someone to do a task 500 times a day. There's enough companies that are hiring those folks out there. We want people that are creative thinkers, critical thinkers, want to learn, and really want us to go ahead and have an impact. I mean, think about what we've done in the tax credit side, and we're extremely fortunate. We have pushed billions of dollars into the entrepreneurial climate, into the ecosystem in the US. We are solely responsible for tens of thousands of companies getting billions of dollars back. And when you go back to it, and what is humbling to us, each one of those companies has employees. Each one of those employees has a family. So I dare to say that for our staff here, we've made more direct impact than 99% of companies in the US for the last 2 years, which has been a very, very uncertain time and a troubling time for a lot of entrepreneurs. And that's what I'll leave you with now, is that we're very proud of what we built. We're very excited about where we're going. It's not going to be easy, but we are the trusted provider for folks. We have tens of thousands of clients, and we're in a great position for forward growth. And now, Robert, I'll turn it back over to you, and we can open up the floor for questions.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate you taking the time out to share that with us and give us a perspective of the market opportunity and the industry view, and where does FinTitan fit to that broader sense. So with that in mind, I'll pause there. And if anybody's got a question that they'd like to ask John, kind of all things are fair and open. And so we'll start with John. So John Chapman, go ahead.
Hey, John, how are you today?
Very good, very good.
So we're just starting to get into the case. Is it, do you compete with ADP and Paychex and people of that nature? Is that your competitor, or is it a little broader than that?
All right, so I have an interesting take on this, along with my interesting take on not having revenue goals. I don't look at anybody as a competitor. I look at what the alignment is. We went into this years ago looking at how do we align. We found out from our data, 34% of our clients have ADP as the payroll. So I can take this, and I go back to it, and I dare everybody on this call, and even the students are listening, scarcity versus abundance. Very simply, we can talk about, oh my God, Paychex, ADP, they're gorillas. What do we do? How do we compete? That's the scarcity mindset that people have. The abundant mindset is, okay, we have 34% of our clients are ADP. The risk to ADP is 34% of our clients are there. We provide our clients money. There's an inherent risk to ADP. We looked at that risk to ADP as a reason to start a conversation. Now that conversation yielded a strategic partnership that with ADP, that we're one of basically 3 major partners across the entire US because we've helped so many businesses. So we took, again, that scarcity mindset, flipped it on its head, looked at the abundant mindset and said, well, ADP, obviously you're 10 times larger than the largest company in the ecosystem. How do we partner with you? Now, the hidden little secret of that is ADP is based right below us in our building. They walk up here, they see our operations, they see what we do, and we're very, very firm believers of a relationship first. The only sole reason why we got that deal is that we built a relationship based upon trust. That negotiation took an excess of 1.5 years, and where other companies go like, oh, where do we pivot now? Where do we go? No, we were 100% aligned to where we were going before we even started down the road. I think that's very, very important for businesses, because you always hear about these pivots. Pivots happen when you're not planning. And again, some things happen, there are headwinds you run into. But great question is that, so we're very proud of our partnership with ADP, and that partnership is so ingrained, is that with our deal with ADP, we can actually go after an ADP client and they still save money by going with us. That is how much trust a multi-billion-dollar company like ADP has given us in such a short time.
So let me double click on that one for everybody's benefit. The case, so as John talked about, there is a lot of financial services that FinTitan could offer to its customer base, right? There's a lot of things they could do. There are 3 that are narrowed into the case perspective, and there's background provided in the case to give you an idea of those 3. And so I tried to elaborate when the email I sent out last week in response was a question. So the first one is deposit. Right, so there's a clear issue with you start looking at the FDIC or the savings and loan deposit insurance amounts, right? And FinTitan is in a position where they're able to provide an enhanced offering in that space. The second one is the payroll services, and you heard John say the ADP relationship is there. That's not so important because you're not feature selling. You're not looking at a collection of features of one competitor versus another. That's not where we're talking about this differentiation in this product set or in this relationship or in this sale. It's not I've got the best product with the longest feature list and there's some unique special problem that this company has that you're going to solve with your unique widget that you have that nobody else has in the marketplace. It's not a product sale. That's not how to think about what we're doing in this case. The third element is is merchant services, right? So you have enough there to build a relationship. There is enough data to get you well down the path to being able to describe what those things are, but not enough data to deliver a complete solution. So you're going to have to do some discovery work in order to be able to uncover some of the missing elements and fit in some of the parameters that you need to come up with X versus Y or X times Y to come up with a value proposition. So that's the basis of the case. So you want to focus in on those three services. And you notice from John's presentation today, that was three of the first bunch that we're talking about here. But I wanted to, for those of you that were earlier, we want the case to be small enough that it's manageable in the essentially 5 or 6 weeks that we have to work on it before we have the competition and everybody comes back from Christmas break. So it's really those three key services, and more so than I have a collection of features and these are the critical differentiations of FinTitan's product features, right? You're differentiating on the relationship and your ability to solve the problems for that customer, rather than it is some long feature list where you're looking for the magic silver bullet that's going to differentiate you versus pick competitor in the marketplace. So that's the way the case is set up, and that's what we're looking for, consistent with FinTitan's position in the marketplace. John, did you want to add something?
Yeah, so Rob, you're absolutely right. And again, we went through a litany of different products and services. And let me just give you an example of that ADP is that very simply, if you have ADP and you pay $100 a month, you'll go pay less with us. So when you're looking at commoditized marketplace, is that we 100% will be less money than ADP directly to them just because of the power of our negotiations and where we stand in the marketplace. So when you look at product services for entrepreneurs, and you did a great job, Rob, is that our differentiating factor is relationship. We're putting the entrepreneur first. Not that other firms don't say they do. But the reality of when rubber meets the road, if SBA lending to sitting here having a conversation with a business owner and they're an HVAC company and they're in Tallahassee, they have 22 employees, their landlord selling the building because he's 82 years old, we can go in there and say, all right, SBA lending, we can go ahead and help facilitate a 10% down on an SBA loan. We can do the lending side. On the accounting side, we can do their bookkeeping. R&D tax credits, are they a research and development, manufacturing, IT? So we could have gone ahead and given you 8 different products, but that's not what we are. We're not a set of products, because when you compare any of our product availability to everybody else, I dare to say that we can beat Chase and Citibank and Bank of America every time. Why? Because they're not paying you any interest. Their limitation on FDIC is $250,000. Ours is $150 million. So head to head, we will be able to beat anything head to head. But as a family of offerings, what we wanted to build is something that is not product set featured, how our product is better than yours, because that's commoditized. There's going to be a point that someone gets $50 million in VC money and beats you out because they're paying their cost of acquisition of a client's $5,000 and we can't match that. It's going to happen. But what can't be matched is putting the entrepreneur in the middle, where I look at these is that when you establish this case, that think about those solutions. So that solution in depository, what the difference is. Relationship based, we're putting the entrepreneur first. And the conversation there is, they're not getting any interest on their money at the banks. Now, banks give interest on personal deposits, but find a bank out there, especially Citibank, Citibank, Chase, Wells Fargo, that pays any interest to someone that is a business owner that has sub $1 million in the account. I don't think it exists. So when you look at how we're going to differentiate, that differentiation is 100% based on the alignment, because you can already trust in how we built things is that we're not trying to sell and make more money off of different products. We're only making those products available because we believe that we have a better answer. And in many cases, the solution 800-pound gorilla is the one that we're partnering with, because they also recognize the value of relationships. I hope that provides better clarity.
All right. Who else has a question? Any logistics questions?
Rob, I have one.
Yeah, please.
So we originally had 2 teams of 4 each. We had our newer team and then our obviously our seniors. And because of sports or other things, our team of 4 that was our newbies, we're down to 2. So is it best that I either pick 4 or find 2 more, or can I have a team of 2? I mean, is there a...
You can have a team of 2. That would be fine for your extras, Dina.
Okay.
You know, it makes the scheduling a little more challenging for me, but so it's easier to do 4s because it's just the way it blocks out. It's just simpler, but it's not required. So
well,
if you end up, because we'll have on the day of, someone will be sick, right? It's just going to happen, right? So we're not going to say, oh, you can't come. You know, I'm not going to tell a team of, oh, well, you know, you had, you know, I'm sorry. You know, it just turns out that team will obviously not have his opportunity to succeed, because there'll only be 2 people on the team. But I'd love to have the extra 2. We'll leave the 2 spots there, and we can make a game time decision if you're not able to fill them.
Okay, we'll try to fill as much as we can. Yeah. I just don't want to take the opportunity away from these 2 new ones that are just now getting into sales. So
yeah, no, exactly. We want to have them have that experience, and definitely we want to do that.
Thank you.
You know, this is about the engagement and the experience. So similar to FinTitan, right? Our goal here is we want to have a community engagement event that includes a competition. So that means the students have the opportunity to engage, to experience, to get improvement, you know, and all together we're moving forward. So just go ahead and I'll leave it in for 8 for now, Dina, and then, you know, week out or something like that, let's think and make sure I know so I can adjust it and collapse the schedules down, because we don't want to have holes if we can avoid them. So I can collapse them down at that point.
Will do. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and share just a reminder for what we've got coming up for everybody. So as a reminder, hopefully everybody recalls that this is the first of 4 sessions. I need to update this one. Brian's not going to be able to join us next week, but it'll be Robert Kim that'll be here. But we will have same time, same link, actually. So we had John this week. Next week, we have Brian talking about common customer problems. Then we'll have Gary and Robert back to talk about product and value propositions. And then Nick and Steven will join us at the end to talk about objections and getting the sale. So those are the next 4 weeks. And then as far as like what we need to be doing, it's just a reminder for the go-dos. So coaches, register your team if you haven't. Remember to send me a copy of your W-9 if you have not done so. Greatly appreciate that. I will be reaching out to people individually at this point in time if I'm missing something. So if you think you've sent it and I don't have it for some reason, we'll get together and figure that out. So you'll be getting a note back from me from that. As far as registering your team goes, really that one, what I'm looking for there is to get the names and emails of your competitors so that I can reach out to them individually as opposed to having to contact you. That way I can get them registered and get their information, their metadata in to get to the business partners for the networking, et cetera, and invite them directly to the reviews and things like that and communicate directly with them with schedules and stuff like that. So that's really the reason for you wanting to register the team. If you registered your team and you had TBDs in for the teams because they didn't have the people yet, you can just go back in and just re-enter it this time and put the teams in, or email me your team members and email addresses. That's fine too at this point. The other part is for the competitors. The competitors need to be putting in their, competitors need to be registering themselves. A competitor is not registered for this event until the competitor has completed the registration. That registration can be as simple as answering 4 or 5 questions at the start, their email, et cetera, and then it asks, do you want to share your information with the business partners? If they say no to that, then they're done. If they say yes to that, then it adds some additional questions. That additional data, that's the information that will go to all the business partners about the students. So if the students want to be reached out to for internships or full-time jobs, that's the information that goes to all of the business partners that are at the event. So obviously it's super important to have everybody fill that material out. And as I said, students are not registered for the competition until they have put themselves in that case, if they have filled that out, okay? The other part, reminder for everybody is that, 2:10 Saturday, at midnight or 11:59 p.m. on Saturday night, the prospecting pre-work is due. That's the LinkedIn connection request, the voicemail, and the email. I expect that probably by Monday, Tuesday of that week, the prior week, so 2/7 is a good guess. Hopefully a bit before that, I'll have the voicemail phone numbers. The email, where you send the connection request and the email is posted in the case. That just goes to @sellingwiththebulls.com. That's where it goes. Is Selling with the Bulls. I'm sorry, it goes to sellingwiththebulls@usf.edu, and that's where those two will go. The voicemail, each room will have its own voicemail number, so I have to complete the whole layout before I'm able to give you guys the voicemail number. So I haven't gotten to that yet, so that's why those will come later. All right. It's critical that the students submit their voicemails to their phone number for their room, not just some general phone number, because I don't go through all of the voicemails. And if the student were to, for example, do 2 voicemails, the judges will get both of them. Okay. I don't edit anything in there. I don't go and listen to the voicemails. Whatever they submit is what goes to the judges. Right. So just be aware of that. So be prepared and be ready to go. There is a bit of a delay from the time you dial into it because it's a text-to-speech greeting on the message. Last year, this was the case. So just prompt everybody to be aware that that greeting has a little bit of a delay from the time that they dial the number. You hear something, there's a little bit of a delay before you get the beep, and then you start recording. Okay. Coaches and competitors, remember, we got the training sessions the 17th, the 24th, and the 31st. All of these will be recorded. And as always, they'll get posted up to the competition folder that you guys have all been communicated with. So that is the activities. That's the plan. And with that, we'll call that a wrap for today. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
Take care.